The original Frozen movie grossed over $1.2 billion, and Disney saw the opportunity to make more money. It was the highest-grossing animated film at the time, and there was no way they would just let it go. Fans were super excited when Frozen was getting a sequel. Most people have already watched the movie, but there are tons of things you probably missed. Welcome to Riveted, and today we'll look at the shocking things you missed in Frozen 2. Major spoilers ahead! If you haven't watched the movie, this might be a good time to turn away. But if you don't mind the spoilers, then keep watching this video. Do you remember the cool shots from the trailer? Anna swinging her sword, Kristoff riding down a hill flanked by other reindeer, and what appeared to be her young mother twirling in a wind of leaves? Well, sadly, they are not part of the movie. In case you missed the first movie in 2013 and you are wondering whether you will understand the sequel, you don't have to worry. Olaf, the Motormouth Snowman, recaps the events of the original movie in a madcap and extremely high-energy sequence that fills in all the gaps. Okay, to the things you probably missed or you will miss in Frozen 2. Hans Christian Andersen. Frozen is based on Snedronningen, or the Snow Queen, a fairy tale type story first published in its original Danish language from 1884. The story was written by Hans Andersen, who also wrote the source material for The Little Mermaid. Toward the end of Frozen 2, viewers see a flashback to when Elsa and Anna's parents, Iduna and Agnar, were children. It was also great that the showrunners decided to give a bit of background for the king and queen of Arendelle. Elsa and Anna's grandfather, King Runyard, approached the North Uldra with the offer to build a dam, a seemingly peaceful gesture that actually had ulterior motives. With the dam in place, Arendelle would have the upper hand over their neighbors. Once this plan is discovered, a battle breaks out and young Agnar is severely injured, and only survives thanks to the intervention of Iduna, a member of the tribe. In Frozen 2, Iduna runs over to Agnar and inquires about the book in which he's happily engrossed. He explains it's a new Danish author. He means Hans Christian Andersen. The second installment was written by modern screenwriters, but they didn't forget to include the brains behind the original story. Newt makes a comeback! The canceled Pixar movie, Newt, was supposed to tell the story of a male and female newt forced together in order to extend their dying species. There were a couple of speculations why the movie never made it to our screens. First, it was handed to somebody new, and the production could not integrate the new ideas and the original idea. The plot was simply not working. Then there was the fact that the story was very similar to Rio. Disney has referenced the newt in several of their movies, but in Frozen, it plays a bigger role. There is a newt crossing sign in Andy's room in Toy Story 3. There is also a reference in Brave, where the witch picks up a newt to add to her potion. In The Good Dinosaur, there is a close shot of a prehistoric newt, a possible reference as well. Then we have the reference in Frozen 2. One of the cutest new characters introduced in the film is a big-eyed magical salamander named Bruni, who can spread fire the way Elsa spreads ice. The castle in Arendelle. While watching a film, people mainly focus on the characters and rarely pay attention to the environment. In Frozen, viewers were introduced to the kingdom of Arendelle, which sits at the edge of the sea. The castle where our favorite Arendellians live was set apart from the village. The castle is rimmed with stone walls and has pointed green roofs. At the end of the movie, you probably noticed that the castle was transformed. It has beautiful ice crystals on the roof and it appears frosty white. In Frozen 2, we realized that the castle was still frosty white even though the movie appears to be taking place in fall. It's probably an indication that Elsa is still the queen and she will continue to take charge. Well, in the end, she doesn't. Disney merchandise. Frozen 2 starts with Elsa and Anna doing what many girls around their age do, play with dolls. However, Elsa has magical powers to make ice toys, and their toys are cooler than what most kids play with. One of the toys is an elephant with a trunk and big ears. Of course, that is Dumbo. Then there is a slightly hulking rounded one which is a dead ringer for Baymax, the friendly robot at the center of the 2015 Disney and Marvel hit Big Hero 6. There's also a toy, Totoro, which doesn't belong to Disney, but the company owned the distribution of the movie Neighbor Totoro. Disney sure knows how to keep all their movies relevant and fresh in their fans' minds. Mickey Mouse. They may have had the toys in the sequel, but nothing beats the Mickey Mouse cameo in Frozen 2. In the movie, you obviously noticed the characters playing a game of charades, but did you notice the Mickey Mouse reference? During a game, Olaf cycles through several poses, one of which involves placing coals on top of his head and one in his nose region. The clue he's acting out is mouse, and he chose to look like Mickey, the mouse. Elsa also makes a Mickey Mouse reference of her own. When Elsa sings Into the Unknown, she spins and leaves an ice circle in her wake. Very briefly, two circles appear on top of that circle, forming the well-known Mickey shape. Jerry Maguire reference? At some point during the Frozen 2 movie, the film turns into a road trip. Since all the main characters were talking Elsa into the Enchanted Forest, Olaf couldn't be left behind. The hardest character for the Frozen team to nail down aside from Elsa was actually Olaf, who was originally then villainous Elsa's first guard. We are glad that they were able to nail the character because he's the life of the party in both movies. Along the way, he starts reciting fun facts and things he believes to be facts. The scene is a faithful recreation of the famous scene from the 1996 dramedy, Jerry Maguire, in which Jerry and Dorothy patiently listen to Dorothy's son recite trivia bits like, "Did you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?" The mysterious symbols which are seen on the rock formation also appeared on the original teaser poster for Frozen 2. The rocks that appear to be at the edge of the mysterious enchanted forest are similar to the Ring of Stones seen in Brave. It's probably because the two movies are set in the same region, or there could be a hidden connection between Frozen and Brave. Disney likes to do these kinds of things, and they will probably reveal the connection in a couple of years. The symbols also appear on the ice crystals Elsa created, meaning they play a big part in her powers. Elsa's personal journey throughout the film involves a kind of vision quest that provides her with more insight into the origins of her ice powers and how to wield them. Frozen 2 extra ingredient. The sugar, spice, and everything nice in Frozen 2 is the cast, which consists of Idina Menzel, Kristen Bell, Josh Gad, and all the other amazing actors. Most of the actors provide the singing voices, but there's someone else who was added to the mix. Her name is Aurora. No, not the one from Sleeping Beauty. She's a 23-year-old Norwegian woman who provides her singing voice throughout the movie. Leonard Cohen and Enya are among her musical influences, and most of her songs are earthy and dark. Aurora loves the fact that Disney doesn't underestimate children, and her favorite movie as a child was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, about a man ostracized from society for his looks. In Frozen 2, a voice beckons Elsa to leave her Arendelle kingdom and discover the secrets of her past. That's when she sings Into the Unknown, with Aurora providing the haunting ah 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 ah. We hear her during the song and throughout the film. Besides the movie's strong message, the singer loved the ties to her culture and the spectacular depictions of nature, which she says look just like Norway. While we are still talking about music, here's an interesting fact. Like the original movie, the music in Frozen 2 is incredible. Idina Menzel and Aurora harmonized to make a sumptuous sound that the two performers never set foot in the same recording studio. Aurora recorded her part over 2 days in London, while Menzel set her track stateside. Elsa and Anna are half Inuit. The Inuit are a group of culturally similar indigenous peoples inhabiting the Arctic regions of Greenland, Canada, and Alaska. The traditional lifestyle of the Inuit is adaptive to extreme climatic conditions. Their essential skills for survival are hunting and trapping. Elsa and Anna are part of this community. The other Disney princess with Inuit ancestry is Pocahontas. Elsa and Anna are also partly Sami, the native nomadic reindeer-herding indigenous people of Scandinavia that are actually white and blonde. Kristoff is legit Sami, and he even wears their traditional Sami clothes. Maleficent vibes. Frozen 2 and Maleficent 2 have aired around the same time, and if you've watched both movies, you will notice some similarities. First, the forests are very similar. Well, Disney probably uses the same enchanted forests for their movies. Both franchises also featured a plot point about true love being between two girls. Bohemian Rhapsody. The other person, apart from Elsa and Anna, who plays a big role in the movie, is Kristoff. In Frozen 2, he attempts to propose to Anna, but she escapes every time. Kristoff then breaks into one of the musical numbers of the movie, Lost in the Woods. The song is performed in the style of a 1980s ballad, and the production tries really hard to give it that feel. There's also one very specific reference to a well-known video from the 1970s. The face of Kristoff, partially shadowed against a black screen, appears in the bottom of the screen, while three reindeer singing backup show up in the top half. It's a facial tableau straight out of the clip for Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. The song is most likely the biggest surprise of the movie, and you can rest assured that it will stick in your head. Time jump. In case you didn't notice, Elsa and Anna are a bit grown, and there's a good explanation for that. Frozen 2 picks up 3 years after the events of the first movie, and 2 years after the Frozen fever. The showrunners explained that the time jump was important because it allowed the characters to mature. Whatever they were planning for the sequel wasn't child's play, and they wanted the characters to be prepared for the battles. Frozen 2 heavily explores sacrifice, pain, and darkness, which required a more mature mindset. Songs. Returning songwriting team Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez had the unenviable task of trying to outdo the tunes from the original movie, which were a huge success. The live version of Frozen opened on the Great White Way in 2018 and earned 3 major Tony Award nominations, including one for Best Musical. In that version, Mattea Conforti portrayed the role of Anna. Only hardcore fans of Frozen noticed that Conforti also voiced young Elsa in the sequel. Yes, that is why she sounded so familiar. For those who were not counting, the original Frozen had 7 songs, and the sequel has 6 songs. Did you spot Elsa's ice castle from the first Frozen as the gang heads toward the enchanted forest, and her signature snowflake while she's doing magic underwater? Olaf also gave a Game of Thrones reference. If you know the line, comment down below. The first movie seemed a bit effortless, but you probably noticed how much effort and labor the filmmakers had to put into the sequel to make it work. The first film saw Elsa learn to accept herself and Anna chases her dreams naively. But in Frozen 2, Elsa grows into her role as queen, while Anna becomes a confident leader, partner, and believer. It looks like the sequel will be a bigger success than Disney anticipated. Early estimates as of Friday showed that the movie was heading for a hot $130 million opening weekend at 4,400 North American locations. That's well above the $100 million launch target that Disney was forecasting for the sequel. If the trend continues, Frozen will be the biggest domestic opening since the July 19th through 21st launch of Disney's The Lion King with $191.8 million. We'll be keeping a closer look at the numbers to monitor the success of the movie. Obviously, not everyone thinks that the sequel is great because of various reasons, but that's a story for another day. To some people, the movie felt rushed, choppy, and a desperate attempt to get millions. Subscribe right here to Riveted and turn on that notification bell to find out more. We keep you updated on all matters entertainment.